Hello everyone, this is Leandra here at the Kentucky facility for new Vocations Racehorse Adoption program, and our next installment of Looking for Love features the great one here. Sophia's riding, and Emily will also be here to talk about him, but the great one is already available for adoption on our website at horseadoption.com. You can check him out by clicking the Horses tab, and his name is the Great One, who we call Wayne as a tribute to Wayne Gretzky, who was also called the Great One. If you don't know him, definitely look him up. But the Great One was born in 2018. He's a gelding. He stands over 16 hands. Check out his profile to figure out by how much, because off the top of my head, I can't think about it. But Sophia here is, 5'7"? 5'7", and fits him nicely. This is a horse who's definitely still growing. I'll move over here. You can see he's kind of got the long spider legs. Needs some filling out. Still kind of what we would call track fit looking and more streamlined look. And as he grows and matures, he'll definitely fill out quite a bit. And he's a horse who has been through and through one with a really level head, really quiet personality. You can see he's standing here nicely, unbothered by just the lack of doing things, where some of them need to be always moving and aren't comfortable standing. But here's a horse who is very comfortable standing, is really quiet and easy to work with on the ground. So Sophia, if you want to head out, we'll watch him move around a bit. The Great One is a horse who also has come off the track fairly recently. So working with him has been a lot of getting him used to just a different style of doing things, different type of contact. And for him, he still has a tendency to kind of lean a bit on his forehand. So working with transitions and just getting him to relax and come back to you as a rider, let you set the pace. In transitions, he likes to try to rush through them a little bit and kind of sit on that forehand again. Sometimes he'll come a little bit behind the vertical, which is, again, if they're used to having hands that are bridged on their neck, then they can learn to lean into it a bit. And so getting them to rock back will then get them into more of a mindset of engaging that hind end and learning to use those hind end, those push muscles instead of the pull ones, as I like to describe them. And if you've got any questions, feel free to type them into the comments tab there, right below the video. If we don't get to them in the live video, you're welcome to hang tight and we'll get back to you with those questions as soon as possible. And for anyone who's just tuning in, this is the Great One. He is already available for adoption. You can check out his profile at horseadoption.com. The Great One is a 2018 gelding. He has no known limitations. The only thing that he's really been through here is going through a healing castration. But his personality is unchanged. He's been quiet, really, really easy to work with. And then just general muscling and working on transitional training. Emily, would you like to add anything? You have ridden him as well.
Yeah, so he's one that's kind of still coming into himself. So he started off kind of meek. He wasn't quite sure what his job was, and as he's gotten more confident, he has really kind of stepped up to the plate and become more forward, become more cooperative. And you can see he's kind of moving a lot better. There we go.
Steps right into the canter. He's got a lot of engine to him. And Sophia's doing a really good job with one of the key things in figuring him out, which is slowing your body down, not relying on the hand. Horses, when they're exercised or worked on the track, a lot of them get used to sitting on your hand or driving into the hand. So just using hand signals alone might not give you exactly the effect that you might be thinking if you're somebody who's just worked with the sport horse side of things, or with horses just who have already transitioned off the track or never been on the track. If they've learned a way of doing things on the track and then they're coming right off the track or from a layup facility when they come to us. All of our horses are coming right off the track or from layup. And on average, they are between 2 and 4 years old. So that's really been the only career path they've known. And it's important to keep that in mind when we're asking them to do different things. You can't use the same cues. We're trying to transition them, and that means bridging the gap between what they know and what we'd like them to do. So if there are different cues or different results for those cues, then we need to teach them that. And that takes a while. That's not something that can be done generally in just the time frame of when the horses are at our program, but that'll be something that they need to transition to over the course of, let's say, typically a year, if not more. That just depends on the individual. So definitely lots of sort of forward momentum in this one, but he also is happy to come back easily. But that go button is there and it's strong, and he's ready to use it. He can't decide which lead he wants to be on still. Sophia, let's have him. Oh, he just swapped it. I was going to say he was countering, cross countering, and then countering. And this is definitely worth noting because getting the lead is something that people ask us about a lot. So again, when you're thinking about how a horse may be asked to swap leads, they all know how to do flying lead changes. They can do that themselves. You might see them do that in turnout. And then on the track, they have to, so that they are not just fatiguing themselves going one direction. So, the way that they're asked, though, is different. Like, we're asking with leg cues. They'll be asked generally with just the hand aid or maybe just shifting the hips, but there's not a lot of the leg contact side of things. So let's have you tip his nose to the outside. That can tend to help him. So use a strong inside leg by his girth, and then the outside leg will come back. Tip his nose to the outside to try to help his shoulder. There you go. So that is a trick for anyone who's watching and heard that. That can help horses who are having a hard time or still tend to throw themselves into the front end. Tilting their head to the outside might help them to lead with that inside leg. And that is a way to help them kind of convert the message that they're used to getting in picking up that shifting lead and the way that we want to ask. And that kind of helps them to kind of mechanically get what we are asking them for, get the effect. And then obviously he kind of gets the release of being able to actually canter off on that lead and help them figure out what exactly we're asking them to do. And that was a really lovely job figuring that out. It can be frustrating, but just keep in mind all these horses know how to swap. It's just a matter of connecting the cue, those buttons that they're used to, and what we are asking them to do in a way that makes sense, and then reinforcing that by repetition and the release of pressure there. Lovely. So anyone just tuning in, this is the Great One. He is already available for adoption. He is a horse with no known limitations. Still filling out a lot of potential in this one. Lots of athletic ability. A more sensitive ride, but in a really beautiful way that means that he's got tons of potential. He's eager to please, just like every other one of them needs to just have a patient and experienced rider who can help him with that transition. So check him out, the Great One, at horseadoption.com. And thank you so much for joining us today from Lexington, Kentucky at New Vocations. Bye-bye.